right, we rolling. Welcome old family and new family to Cypher Scholars. This is your co-host with the most, Brandon White, or Bushido Garvey as I'm known in many MC circles. About to mess around and forget my headphones.
It's your boy Rob Blow, on the board, on the tech, on the cam, behind the cam, on the board, behind the board.
Yes. And for those who don't know, Cypher Scholars is the radio talk show that is part education, part hip-hop, all culture, that does its best to say global, local, and universal. Yes. So today we have a packed up syllabus. We're going to be talking the increased hate speech and hate crimes rate that's been going on in school. We're going to be talking about
African engineering.
Yes.
Skills.
The creative African engineering that's been going on, despite not always having the resources, and despite being treated like the globe's trash can, right? And last but not least, Erick Sermons' new streaming service, hip hop doing big things right now.
Yes.
So let's get into it about these hate crimes and this hate speech. Right now, we know that's nothing new.
Yeah, it's nothing new. It's been many stories over years and years within the education umbrella, where you have students being scrutinized,
stigmatized,
being discriminated against, downplayed against. You know what I mean?
Word. But no shocker, since the beginning of the Trump era.
Okay.
The rates of hate crimes and hate speech within schools has increased.
Oh man.
And so just for more context, Teaching Tolerance, which is a really, really good website for anybody who wants to understand two things. One, how social justice plays out in education, or how it doesn't play out, because they illustrate that too. And they also provide a lot of tools and resources to teach about social justice issues in an academic manner. And one of the things that they did recently was they published a report about this increase in hate crimes.
Okay.
And the results are not pretty, right? So
the report is real long.
It's long, but it's really informative.
Yeah.
And it really talks about the types of different hate speeches, and different types of hate crimes and hate speech that's been going on since what's being called the Trump effect. Right?
Yeah. I remember seeing that term.
Yep. So in terms of the news reported hate incidents, 63% of them that they reported on were racial, 10% were homophobic, 4% had to do with anti-immigration, and then 18% had to do with anti-Semitic. That's actually a jump. Anti-Semitic commentary was not as frequent as it has been since the Trump era. And
that was the last out of the smallest percentage out of all three that you just read?
Oh, no, thank you. Yep, thank you for that. Anti-Muslim sentiments were 3% of the reports, and other derogatory circumstances were 2%. This got classified as other.
Okay.
So, one thing that is relatively newer to me,
in
terms of what I've seen in public schools and what I've experienced, is anti-Semitism.
Yeah. I don't think you had a lot of people hating on Jews in school and stuff like that, man.
Not in my circles.
Yeah.
But this particular report talks about anti-Semitism, and saying that more than 200 teachers reported swastikas being at school.
Oh, okay.
In the past couple of years.
See, now I would think that would be more in the suburban districts, not more in the public school districts. Because,
why you think that?
Just because of the demographic that is within the suburban versus in the public school district. So the cultures is totally different if you look at it like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we both grew up in public schools, and we never seen any swastikas. I never seen anyone say
in city schools, urban schools, inner city schools. Yeah,
in the public school setting. You know what I mean?
Right.
Where we were at, I've never seen any swastikas.
I didn't either.
I never even thought about the Jewish culture as I was growing up. You know what I mean?
I had a couple of Jewish friends growing up. That was largely due to the eclectic neighborhood I grew up in.
Okay, yeah.
And I got some insight through that, And through history class, of course, we learned about the Holocaust and, and all that stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
All the Hanukkah specials and whatnot in TV growing up. But like in terms of seeing like what anti-Semitism was, like I didn't actively see that. I saw a lot of racism towards like African Americans, Latinos, and Asians.
That's more
immigrants.
Definitely.
Immigrants of color. Pardon me.
Yeah.
But no, I think that with anti-Semitism, I think it is something that kind of flies under the radar here in America. I think it's larger in other places, but it kind of flies under the radar here, but it's always kind of dormant and a little quiet. But then you have a president like the one we have who kind of wakens up some of these white nationalists, white supremacists who don't like anybody that's not white, Anglo-Saxon and a Protestant. And that would include Jewish people. So now there's this increase of swastikas, and one quote that they had from an elementary school student, it said, "I'm a fan of Hitler. God sent Hitler down to kill the Jews because they nailed Jesus to the cross." An elementary school student said this, not even a teacher, right? So where is he getting that from?
I would think that's a learned behavior that he probably received from an adult that was around him. I mean, given the fact of the climate that we're in right now, like we had synagogue shootings, we had churches getting hit up and stuff like that with all these with white nationalists and probably some other groups, I guess. You know what I mean?
Or Jewish graves getting defaced.
Yeah. Some real wild actions from these people, man. You know what I mean? So to see that climate fester. I mean, since the Trump administration took its hold into office, I mean, it seemed like this is more of a thing that we're gonna have to deal with. You know what I mean? And
indeed.
And obviously, you know what I mean, from a elementary student to draw a swastika on the wall or something like that, right? That goes to tell you that parenting probably has something to do with that, man. That's a learned behavior right there, man.
There's this connection, right? Our president, talks about alternative facts and fake news, et cetera, and I feel like white supremacists really attach themselves to that concept. And in the case of Jewish people, one of their biggest things that anti-Semitic people do is they deny the Holocaust. Okay. Right? So, when Trump has this whole alternative facts, fake news, it seems like they're just kind of lumping that into their belief about the Holocaust not happening. Okay. Right? They're saying it's fake news and alternative facts. You know what I'm saying? When like the camps are there, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? The stories are there, like everything is the documentation. The Germans were like fastidious.
There's video. They got videos. There's videos. Yeah. Like Kodak started making videos in the late 1800s or something like that, right?
Yeah, I believe.
Come on, man. So there's videos. They got videos and all that. Now, in the article and all that, you said there's. I remember talking to you. You said that they cover statistics from both teachers and students. So not only not only that students are getting discriminated against, teachers are getting discriminated against. That's what you're telling me?
I was saying that not only were students doing the discriminating, but teachers were also doing the discriminating. They talked about these teachers who, I forget what the theme of the day was, but I think it was like Halloween maybe. Okay. And these teachers, I believe on the West Coast or close to the West Coast or Southwest, had they dressed up as a border wall that said "Keep America Great Again." Yeah. Like they coordinated their racism to be a border wall, and they had like students of Latino descent
participate in this.
Not participate, but in the school. You know what I'm saying? So they got to watch they teachers walk around like a wall. Wow. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, there's this increased comfort.
Listen, there's
many being racist.
Yeah, there's many stories like that where teachers were dressed. Okay, you said the teachers dressed themselves up, right? But I heard of stories where teachers were dressed up the students as like slaves and all that, and act out slave narratives and situations just to teach a class about the history of slavery. Yeah, you know what I mean. So like to do it like that, like that's I think is insensitive, right? to the plight of black people.
Oh, absolutely. There was one I read that talked about how the teacher wanted the students to play slave hand games.
Yeah. Ooh.
Crazy.
Whoa.
Crazy. And then again, when we read stuff like, because in the report it says this again, an elementary school student says, "I don't want to sit by you because you're black."
Wow.
Right. So if teachers are setting things up like play slave hand games, right? Or doing things like being border walls for Halloween or whatever have you. It's going to sink down to these kids.
That's going to set them up for PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome, right? That's going to I mean, that's going to set them up for things like that, trauma, some form of trauma, man. Like, it's not cool to do stuff like that, man. Like, and also, man, there's many factors that come into play. You got implicit bias that comes into play when this happens.
Yes.
From adults.
That's right.
You have prejudgmental thoughts. You know what I mean, from like movies or you know what I mean. Maybe what your parents said, or you know what I mean, talkings around the community around you. You know what I mean.
That's right.
Etc. You know what I mean. There's so many factors that come into play when this happens, man. But
and to speak to that, the prejudgmental thoughts and the implicit bias. Peace to Brother Dean. I appreciate you listening. Peace, Sally. Appreciate you listening as well. You know, a lot of you can detect these, particularly with like students who are perceived to be immigrants, because sometimes they're not even immigrants, and they're here for the second or third generation, but they're of another ethnicity.
Yeah.
We hear stuff like, "Go back to this place," right? Or "You're not American. You're not a real American. You need to go home.
Yep.
ICE is coming for you," right? Like all these things have been increased due to the comfort that our president is producing with a lot of these ideas.
Yeah.
It's just foul, kid.
Yeah, people are feeling a lot more comfortable to speak against like the plight of Black Americans, and you know what I mean, and plight of other cultural peoples of other cultures.
Word up.
You know what I mean?
So teaching tolerance, they recommend like educators should address these issues in the classrooms.
Okay.
Which is going to be challenging, because if some of these educators are encouraging or enabling these ideas or have these ideas, then it's going to be hard for them to address them, right? But there are plenty of great educators that will have enough sense to address them, so they're just calling them to do that.
Okay. All right.
They're encouraging teachers to model courage, compassion, empathy, and civility.
Yep.
Push our local school boards and governments to make sure that multiple identities are represented and heard. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done, because like this Trump effect is really having impact on us, and not only is it having an impact, it's having an impact because it's always been there in quiet, but now that this president has said it's okay, come out.
Yep.
It's okay, bring this this ugliness out. Like, it's starting to come out more in our kids and in our teachers. You feel me? So,
I mean, he's definitely not taking a stance against it, nor. I mean, he's
not even close.
He's not taking a stance against it. You know what I mean? So
no.
And he doesn't even know what a white nationalist is. I remember.
Right.
I remember him saying that he don't even know what a white nationalist is, man. He don't even know who David Duke is. He don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, that's what he's saying. So.
Word up.
So we see where he's at with his stance.
Word. Well, we got to move on to the next part of the syllabus. Let's talk about our brothers across the Atlantic. All these over the past couple of years, there's been these trending stories of Africans using ingenuity and creativity. We just came from that dinner that talked about the Nguzo Saba, right? With the creativity, the Kaumba, right? Using creativity in rough situations to be really, really, really amazing engineers, right? Can you speak a bit about what happened in Kenya with these boats? And then we'll get deeper about how this is an overall pattern.
So let me start from the beginning, man. Kenya, recently, maybe last year. I think sometime last year or the year before that. They recently banned plastic bags, right?
Okay.
And they said that if you get caught with a plastic bag, you'll get a $38,000 fine, or you could get 4 years in jail. They're not playing. So so they're raising the severity of the crime so high so that people could have an understanding of not to mess with the plastic bags.
Right.
And the reasons for this is because citizens are very wasteful. Humans are very wasteful. Point blank period, man. Like, you know, you eat something, you buy something from the store, you eat something, and you just throw it on the ground.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And most of these things are plastic, are related to plastic.
Yeah.
I mean, the littering is related to plastic. You could step outside your house, walk down the street, and you'll see plastic items all over the ground.
Word.
I mean, and now I'm talking about in any neighborhood, in your cities, suburban areas, beaches, mom and pop shops, big stores, Walmart. You know what I mean? All these other places. So it was a guy who came up with an idea to figure out a way to not waste plastic, or take wasted plastic and create boats out of it. You know what I mean? So I don't know his name. I don't have his name. I wish I did have his name. But you can find it. You could. The audience could look it up on
the project is called the Flip Floppy project.
Okay.
Right, like using the plastic to create these traditional Kenyan boats.
Yeah.
Right. That's just so crazy.
Yo, and the boats is huge.
Yeah,
Have you seen a picture of it?
Right,
the boats are huge. You can fit you can fit Noah's Ark inside the boat, probably.
Those boats are huge, and the fact that you're able to make so many huge boats out of plastic says a couple things. One, we're in trouble in terms of like how we're treating this planet. But then two, yet again, we have African brothers and sisters figuring out creative solutions for our challenges in the environment, even if we're not always paying attention to them.
Let me say that. Let me add to what you just said about we're in trouble with the planet because of the wastefulness of plastic.
Yeah.
This building of the boats was in response to climate change, right?
Right.
And basically how people are being wasteful in society. But let's talk about the other ingenuity stories that you heard about.
Yeah. So
because the reason why I want to bring those to light is because I want to find out what were those a reaction to. Was it like a social action in reaction to like
no
wastefulness and stuff like that?
No. So in at least in the stories that I've seen and followed, it's in reaction to a couple things. Just overall, just like bad environmentalism. Whether that environmentalism had to do with the indigenous folk not always cleaning up around them, or if it had to deal with them getting a bad geopolitical deal and dealing with other people's trash. Because frequently countries in Africa get bad deals or just set up for economic failure. So what ends up happening is they'll be like, all right, well, what's one way we can try to make money? All right, well, this nation, in Europe or in Asia or wherever needs to get rid of their trash. If they'll pay us, we'll take their trash.
Okay.
And so, like what will happen is that nation will then bring their trash to that African nation, and it starts to pile up and it starts to bring things into more like environmental turmoil for that country.
Okay.
Right. But so in the case of Togo, what Togo did.
Togo people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. What they did, they were like, you know what? This is a bad deal, taking these folks' trash, but let's see how we can flip it. They are going through a lot of the electronic refuse and trash, and using active pieces that are still functioning to create new software, hardware, mechanics, engineering, robotics. So they're using that other nation's trash because just geopolitically, that's exactly how a lot of other countries outside Africa treat African countries like trash. So they gave them the trash, but what they did was they turned that trash into engineering treasure by creating, again, doing a lot of STEM stuff, a lot of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics stuff with active pieces of that trash. They have whole systems of like sorting through the electronic trash, using motors and chips and all this other technology to build new things.
Yeah,
And so they're repurposing it, which guess what that reminds me of, yo?
What?
Hip hop.
Yeah.
Hip hop was born out of a poverty-stricken economic disenfranchisement. Hip hop was squeezed into existence by the choke of poverty, right?
Yeah.
They wasn't giving us no type of music programs.
Pressure make diamonds,
right?
man.
That's
Cove.
right. That the pressure of poverty, the pressure of limited resources, the pressure of redlining and being squeezed into the Bronx, right?
Wow.
The pressure of corrupt landlords
Sitting on top of each other and
exactly.
and
And
project
projects,
builders, man.
you know what I'm saying?
Your
All
blocks
of that,
got houses, man.
all of that. They turn records and turntables into instruments.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then now we got the culture that we got. So they're doing that with technology.
And look how
you know
powerful the culture became in 45 years.
45
Only in 45 years.
So imagine what's going to happen with these African nations and African folks who are doing that. So the other cases, there's this one brother in Soweto in South Africa who was using trash around him to create a robotic arm.
Wow.
Right? On it by himself. He said it took him like 2 weeks to make.
Wow,
right?
that's crazy.
And then there's that movie right now called this happened like 10 or more years ago, The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind.
Oh, I heard about that movie. Oh, man.
In his village, he created this. He was a kid. He created a windmill for his village to power his village.
Wow.
I think particularly his family's house.
Yeah.
But like he made a windmill out of trash.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so there's a lot of genius on that continent without even having all the resources all the way. So imagine when resources come or get established. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, definitely.
It's gonna be a powerful thing, man. But we know how to do that.
Yeah,
we know how to turn trash into treasure, yo.
Yo, and I think we gotta exhibit that too in the Americas as well. I mean, we gotta look at some of these things and probably make use of them. Like, actually, I've been looking into like crystals, like what is it called? Quartz crystals and stuff like that,
and how
right?
that can be
how that can be used, right?
Yeah,
that's I think about photons, right?
Yeah,
those are crystals. You know what I mean? They use crystals and make use of those.
Like photons are it's like light, right?
Yeah, light.
And light travels through crystal.
Yeah,
really. Yeah, and
crystals can make light. Crystals can make light. So you could use an
Mm-hmm.
oscillator to help crystals. You could use an oscillator and put it in a circuit and power something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yep. And there's a lot of our current technology that requires quartz technology, right?
Right.
So, but like, how tapped in are we in our STEM programs in our schools?
Yeah.
Not really, right? So I do agree. Like, we do need to be getting more into those STEM things, because really, like, again, I'm just bringing it back to hip hop. Hip hop was really, in a large way, a STEM project. Like, Grandmaster Flash had to figure out, like, how can I get these two turntables to have a relationship with each other so cutting and mixing can go down even more effectively.
Yeah.
You had to understand electricity and just like musical engineering really well, with nobody training you to do any of that, right? Like, so we do need to tap back into our own kind of indigenous STEM projects. You know what I'm saying? So we can have autonomy over our learning, as opposed to a public school kind of getting the STEM stamp, but they're not really doing no STEM work. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And we still not getting the education that we need.
All right, what we going on the time?
Looking at the Gucci, it's about that time. But so speaking of technology, right? Your boy Erick Sermons.
Yes.
Right? For those who don't know, who are a little younger than us, Erick Sermons is a legend in the hip hop game.
Yeah.
One half of EPMD, produced classic after classic after classic.
What was one of the songs that he produced that was crazy? The Marvin Gaye joint.
Oh, music, yes. Music. Yep. And
music.
Yeah, he was already that was like 02, and he was already very established by that point, you know, in terms of just being an OG. That's for all the younger folks. But Erick Sermons he announced on Sway's Universe the other day, his own streaming service.
Yeah, crazy, man.
That's huge.
And the name of the streaming service it has the name Squad Streaming, and it's under the Def Squad record label.
Yes, which he started. You know what I'm saying? Him and PMD.
Okay.
Yeah. Paris.
Yep.
So here's what I've come to understand about the because I had to dig a little bit. Here's what I come to understand about Squad Streaming. Right. The term I heard used was a boutique streaming service, kind of like an exclusive line of it.
Yeah.
They use Spotify and another streaming services metrics systems and rate charging systems.
Okay.
But like it's like a curated streaming service where it's like has their artists, the artists that they appreciate and cherish and they work with.
Yep.
They have them on it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Such as Fred the Godson,
Right.
Ali Vegas, my guy.
Yo.
People will be sleeping on Ali Vegas.
Son.
Oh my God. Woo.
Yeah, man.
Y'all talking about Rock
Bars for
Marciano.
days,
Ali Vegas was going, man.
Yeah,
Listen,
for
Keith
real.
Murray, producers like Rock Wilder. Remember Rock Wilder?
Of course. La 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 la.
Yeah. Whoa. Come on now.
Yeah.
And other producers as well, and any other affiliates that is a part of APMD or Erick Sermons, etc.
Yep. So he's definitely making big moves because that's a whole debate with artists, right? In terms of like the lucrativeness of streaming.
Mm-hmm.
Is it something that you get a lot of money out of, or is it something that is a penniless effort?
Mm-hmm.
Like God bless the dead, Nipsey made a post one time talking about streaming and just tried to indicate that you don't get a lot of money from it.
Okay.
But the way Erick Sermons was breaking the math down, he was breaking it down another way in terms of how it gets used.
Okay.
You can make a lot of money from it depending on, like the methodologies and your awareness of the technology and the algorithms. That's the other thing. They kept it funky on that interview saying like, algorithms. This is what's so tricky about this modern era because nobody really knows what these algorithms are doing, what they are. Only a select few, only the creators of the creators of the creators in this field really know what these algorithms are set up to do. I mean, and who knows if they've been kind of self-evolving into different things or accidentally evolving based off of interactions with the users. Right? Like so, like Erick Sermons is like very aware of this space and his endeavors to have this kind of boutique streaming service. And I think that he's just modeling the kind of learning a lot of us got to do as a people and definitely in hip hop. In terms of like knowing this, not only knowing the business, but knowing how the business is growing. Because he also set up a sampling company.
I forgot. I did see that he did set up a streaming service and he set up a sampling company as well.
Yep.
But the streaming service also. He takes the works of Fred the Godson. Let's say, for example, he takes the works of Fred the Godson and he'll serve their music to major streaming platforms. You know what I mean? So it acts like a conduit, acts like a channel.
Right.
You know what I mean? To get to the larger platforms. So maybe that's what he's talking about when they make him. Maybe that will lead to the money part. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Because now he's the middleman.
Yeah, he's basically
and these companies are okay. I see
exactly. So it acts like a channel from his smaller streaming service to the larger ones.
To the larger
you know
word,
I mean?
indeed. And I think
no. And also, real quick, who else has made a streaming service as well?
Because
I remember you saying
what's it called? That's right. Before I get into that, let me touch on the sampling.
All right,
because that was major too. Because Erick Sermons, in terms of like the business sense, he saw a need. Because here's the need: clearing samples is a very complex process. Right?
Yeah.
What he did was he got rights to a lot of samples. And built up a library for then not students, but like people who are producers to go to his library and then pay a fair price to use the samples depending on which right, whether it's this licensing thing or whether it's for full production. Like he maps it out well and he makes it a very user-friendly process to adopt samples, right?
Wow.
He makes money off of that.
So he's basically facilitating the sampling process?
Yes, exactly. He's facilitating the sample clearance process. Yes. Yep. And that's big, man.
Wow.
That's nobody.
For those that don't even know it, like if you're a beginning producer, right?
Yes.
That'd probably be the best way to
best
avenue.
All these producers are using it. Even the season Static Selector's using it.
Ooh, okay.
Even I saw Middle Child that J. Cole used. J. Cole used this. It's called TrackLib.
Okay.
But to transfer over to other folks doing it, Sierra
doing the streaming service, right?
Sierra, Sierra and Russell Wilson are doing a media production kind of company that will involve some sort of digital services where their stuff will be streamed. I don't know if they're doing streaming services.
Okay.
But like they are making a product for things to be streamed, like digitally. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of our folk being really active and proactive with the economics. You know what I'm saying? That's one thing about what's going on. I am seeing a lot of OGs, whether it be Jay-Z, Erick Sermons. Even Sierra technically is an OG at this point.
He got the title, right?
Yeah,
that's
right.
a streaming service, right?
Yeah, and Sierra's been, when the goodies come out, like in 02, 03.
Yeah, something like that.
She's been in the game for a while, so like all these people who've been seasoned.
That's crazy.
Time has flown, man. Like, so all these people who are seasoned are really taking their economics seriously and creating opportunities, expanding empire. You know what I'm saying? So that's a beautiful thing. But yo, we are at time. Thank you to everybody who tuned in on whole facts for the Facebook Live. You made it through the low battery. We appreciate you. For those who don't know, you've been listening to Cypher Scholars, the radio show that's part education, part hip hop, all culture. Catch us every Tuesday from 12:30 to 1 on 104.3 Wayo FM, and also catch us online and on Facebook and on Mixcloud and BushidoGarvey.com. Peace and progress.
Peace.